Hey guys, my name is James. Thank you for checking out my channel. So last time, we explored the history of Simon Bolivar and Gran Colombia, one of the new civilizations from the first release of the Frontier Pass. So this time, I want to take a look at the other half and talk about the history of the Mayan Empire and their leader, Lady Six Sky. In this video, I'll take a high-level look at what we know about the Maya and Lady Six Sky, while also trying to explain the historical significance and context behind the unique abilities, unique unit, and the unique district. And of course, I apologize in advance if I mess up any of the names that I talk about today. Now, before we can dive into Mayan history, it's important that we look at the geography of where the civilization rose up. The Maya developed in the Yucatan Peninsula of modern-day Mexico. Back then though, the Mayans called the land Mayab, which is also the Maya civilization ability. This ability makes it so cities do not receive additional housing from being adjacent to fresh water or coast. Instead, they get +1 amenity for each luxury resource adjacent to the city center, and farms also receive +1 housing and +1 gold. So to understand this ability, we need to understand Mayab, which also means the place of the chosen people. Unlike other civilizations, which usually sprung up around major rivers or coasts, the Yucatan Peninsula was hot, jungle-filled, and had few navigable rivers. It was also on a limestone shelf, leading to poor soil quality. The area also did not have many domesticable animals. All things considered, it's a miracle that people managed to make this a home there at all. As a result, the Maya had to develop methods of filtering water and rain collection in order to properly grow their crops. This explains why farms and plantations are so pivotal to the Maya playstyle. Since they were such intensive agriculturalists, they had to develop an understanding of when the rainy season would be. This need to understand time resulted in the Mayans developing many ways of tracking the movement of the stars, which in turn resulted in the development of the famous Mayan calendar. In order to track these movements, the Mayans developed observatories and other astronomical structures. This leads us to the Maya's unique district, the Observatory. The Observatory replaces the campus, having a lower production cost, as well as science bonuses for adjacent plantations and farms, rather than mountains. Given all we know about how Mayan civilization had to survive, this connection of science to farms and plantations makes a lot of sense, and I think is thematically very well designed. I also think, as with any civilization which has a unique science district, the observatory makes the Maya very powerful for science victories, as adding additional science can be as easy as creating new farms. It should be noted, the observatories we've discovered all come from later periods of the Mayan Empire, but early ages did do similar exercises with what were called E-groups. So with the advent of agriculture, thus began the Preclassic period of the Maya, from approximately 2000 BC to 250 AD. Villages began to form into cities, and it's here we can see the rise of some prominent ones, including Tikal, who becomes a major player later on in history. Next, we hit the Classic period of the Maya, which supposedly lasted to around 900 AD. This time period of Mayan history is often compared to that of ancient Greece, due to the nature and relationship of the city-states. The great metropolis of Teotihuacan was one of the earliest powers, and the leaders there intervened at Tikal and other nearby cities, establishing rulers in these cities as their vassals. Eventually, Tikal grew to dominance and rose as the premier power in the region. But of course, with every great power, there must be a great rival, and in this case, that was the city of Calakmul. Similar to how Athens and Sparta competed, Tikal and Calakmul were engaged in an arms race of developing allies and vassals, and a power struggle ensued. Then in 629, a Tikal king sent his son, Balaj Chan Kawil, to found and rule a new city at Dos Pilas, hoping to establish power outside of Calakmul's territory. Of course, civil war was inevitable, and eventually, Balaj Chan Kawil was captured by the Calakmul king, Yaknum Chein II, otherwise known as the Snake Lord. The Snake Lord then established Balaj Chan Kawil as his vassal in the city of Dos Pilas, and his loyalty changed from Tikal to Kalakmul. This then brings us to Lady Six Sky, or Wak Chanil Ajaw. Lady Six Sky was the daughter of Balaj Chan Kawil, and at a young age she was sent to the city of Naranjo to establish a new dynasty and add Naranjo to the Kalakmul Dos Pilas alliance. On her arrival to the city, she showed her savvy, performing several rituals and gaining the respect of the people. While she never fully ascended to the crown of Naranjo, the fact that we are able to discover monuments about her deeds only shows how respected and powerful she actually was. She had a son who was nicknamed Smoking Squirrel, and he assumed the throne at the age of 5, but Lady Six Sky acted as Queen Regent. During this time, she led several military campaigns to defend her and her son's rule. She's even depicted in monuments as a warrior, standing over her enemies, an unusual depiction for a woman of the time. So with our discussion of war, let's take a quick dive into the Maya unique unit, the Hul'Che. The Hul'Che replaces the archer. They're stronger than the normal archer while doing additional damage to wounded units. However, they have a major debuff against district defenses and naval units. The Hul'Che is a Mayan weapon, which is used like a throwing dart or arrow. It's a long wooden shaft with a notch at the end where an arrow sits. This device is then used to launch the dart or arrow at greater force and accuracy than the arm alone would. So looking at the characteristics, the -17 strength against district and naval units, I'm going to assume is just from the fact that flinging a dart like that probably would not be very effective in those situations. It might also be questionable whether the Hul'Che would be more devastating than your usual bow, but I'll accept the slight buff since it is a unique unit after all. In fact, bows and arrows were used by the Maya, but interestingly enough did not become the favored war weapon until the post-classic era. The +5 strength against wounded units is perhaps the most interesting part of the Hul'Che's ability. Historically, the reason for this is that Mayan battles would often begin with an exchange of Hul'Che darts aimed at wounding the opponents before melee soldiers would come in to finish the enemy off. So in some ways, this ability is not actually entirely accurate. Maybe it would have made more sense that they had additional damage against not wounded units, or maybe they could place some sort of debuff on enemies so that warriors could easily come in and clean them up. Regardless, I think that these units are very powerful, as I already thought archers were very important, and this is just an even better archer. So anyway, back to Lady Six Sky. Lady Six Sky proved to have a strong understanding of Mayan religion, and used it to further establish herself as the matriarch of the dynasty. She and her son became co-rulers and continued campaigns against other Mayan cities, including Tikal. She would come to be memorialized as Ish Mutal Ajaw, or the Royal Lady of Mutal, where Ish means lady, Ajaw means lord, and Mutal likely refers to Tikal, where her family was originally from, although if you remember, her loyalties had since changed because of her father. This title is also her leader bonus. This bonus makes it so non-capital cities gain 10% to all yields if within 6 tiles of the Mayan capital, and minus 15% to all yields if the city center is more than 6 tiles away. Additionally, all units receive +5 combat strength when within 6 tiles of the capital. I think this bonus makes more sense historically when you look not only at her rule, but Mayan politics in general. It makes sense that the cities closest by you would be the ones you'd want to include as part of your alliance, and thus it would make them easier to govern, as well as translating to more yields. The bonus, of course, makes it so you're going to want to settle cities within 6 tiles of your capital, thus making your empire a little bit smaller in terms of sheer land size when compared to other empires. The bonuses though should helpfully make it so building tall empires are rewarded, but I do see production still becoming an issue. So, as time went on, Lady Six Sky's son would eventually pass away before she did, and she was once again leader until her grandson had come of age. She would eventually pass away in 741 AD, and her grandson would then be defeated by Tikal, ending the dynasty she worked to build. After much civil war and internal strife, the classic Maya civilization collapsed. There are a number of theories as to the reason, including warfare, overpopulation, and drought. This resulted in many classic Mayan cities being abandoned. Among these are the famous Chichen Itza, which was likely the last great power of the Mayan Empire. After this, Mayan history is characterized by war, disease, and natural disaster, all of which seem to occur right before the Spanish made contact. To this day, there is still Mayan culture alive in the area, but much of it was destroyed by the Spanish, including historical records. There's still a lot for us to discover and learn about this great civilization, and I truly think games like Civilization help people want to learn more. Overall, I think the Maya are a very interesting civ, as their toolkit makes it so you are likely going to be building a tall empire, in a game where growing wide seems to be more heavily rewarded. This makes them very interesting to play. We'll see if the Maya emerge as a powerhouse in Civ, but with a unique science district and archer replacement, I would say they definitely have the tools to become one of the best civs in the game. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got to learn something new about the Mayan Empire. When doing the research for this video, I definitely learned a lot, and so it was definitely a very rewarding experience for me. If you did enjoy it, please do consider liking, subscribing, and letting me know in a comment what other civilizations you'd like to see, as well as maybe if there's other games with historical characters you want me to cover. I am definitely always open to trying those out and explaining the historical significance behind the games. Once again, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day. Peace.